Hi, I'm Ben. And I do sales, a lot of sales. I do the system design. I've done a lot of work on this already. Anything that needs done pretty much. Pays-
There we go. All right. Go ahead.
All right, starting up here at the front. We've already pulled the bumper off, pulled off the old pump. This once upon a time was a waste management chassis. Pulled all that stuff off. We're going to mount off the front of the motor in here. A hydrostatic transmission,
Okay.
which, run wide open. We should easily be able to pull 300 horse through, which is everything that'll do.
Well, let's start at the beginning here, guys. This is going to end up as a manure.
It sort of as a manure handling and partially as a utility vehicle. It's going to cover 3 or 4 different uses.
Okay.
One of the things it's going to do is it'll replace a tractor for some functions, and it'll go 60 miles an hour.
Ah. So it gives you mobility and the ability to run the hydraulics and stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's got an automatic transmission, so any dummy can jump in, drive down the road.
Okay.
Which is handy.
And the controls are those the controls you guys are going to use?
It's actually the same controls. Well, for driving, yes, we don't have any of the controls for the hydraulics in it yet.
Okay. That's just the old controls?
Yep. Garbage truck controls.
And I see you guys got move the axle up. You're going to chop off the back, huh?
We move the axle up about 5 feet. We're going to chop about half of what's hanging off the back off.
Half of it?
Yep, that'll leave us enough room to mount our motor on the back and run 300 horsepower at the back at 1,000 RPM, which again will replace a tractor. Run 300 horsepower out of that, you can run TMRs or even big stuff and still get her done.
Yeah. So the PTO will come out the back here.
Yep, it should be roughly here.
Up this high?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, a little higher, that way you can still have a hitch underneath it.
A hitch so you can pull other things?
If you put a piddle hitch on it, then you can, pull whatever you want for a regular trailer down the road too.
Okay.
It's got a god-awful heavy rear end in it.
Yeah, I noticed that. That's a heavy
26,000
axle.
pound rear end, which is more than will be on it, but that's all right. We're going to probably add 600 to 800 pounds of iron out the back here,
Are you really?
which it needs. Other it's going to need a wheelie bar on the front end, so when you get the brakes, it's not nose dragging.
Yeah.
Pull the fuel tank off the far side. We're going to have the fuel tank up here.
On this side?
Yep.
Right
It's going
there?
to take up. Yeah, it's going to go from about here to just behind the front fender.
Okay.
So run long time with that fuel tank. Hydraulic reservoir and oil cooler and stuff will be on the other side.
On the other side.
Yep. I'm going to keep it down below the top of the frame, so there's room to add stuff or whatever our customer wants to put on top of it later.
Oh, okay. So there's going to be a flatbed here or something between the cab
Well, either a
and the
flatbed
motor?
or nothing.
Or nothing?
Yeah.
Just open rails?
Yeah, there's still some of the design portions in progress.
Okay. And then these are the old hydraulics for the...
Actually, these are the old air lines and wiring for the lights and brakes and something else.
Yeah.
Whatever was, and some of the Packer controls for the Packer body. Yep, air accumulator tank.
Yeah, okay. The accumulator.
Instead of chopping them all off and then rewiring them, we pull them off and set them up here. Then we'll pick them up and put them back on and cut them shorter one at a time.
Yeah.
Because that should save a lot of misery.
Yes, it should. And that is right there.
Here, that's a diesel motor. That's the Allison automatic transmission.
Okay.
And it's all electric, so you jump in, push forward, and any dummy can push forward and
go.
Forward. Yep. Yep, but being a cab over, you have a lot more chassis to work with behind it.
Yeah, I noticed that. There's a lot of room back there with this being out here.
Yep, and it gets you fairly low to the ground too. So if you do decide you have to drive inside a barn or inside a, even this wouldn't fit in my garage at home, but it'd be darn close.
Yeah, that's not that high, guy. I'm
No,
6'2". And I can reach the top, so that makes it
Probably
about
9
8.
feet to the top of the air conditioner on the cabin.
Yeah, there's air conditioner up there.
Would you pull the stack off the exhaust, and all of a sudden you get something that you can drive in a
barn.
10-foot door.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to do it fast because you hit a bump, you might have trouble. You drive it in a 10-foot door.
Yep.
Where you need to be.
And this is going. You guys are doing this for who?
Chris in Lindstrom in Wisconsin.
The Chris over at the other.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it's going to be partially an experimental vehicle too, which is why it's going to stay open.
Mm-hmm.
That way he can add any machine device or otherwise he'd like to that. And with all the hydraulic power off the front, you can add something else to it and hook up to it.
Yeah.
Oh, you want a PTO shaft hangs off the side? Okay. Install another similar motor off the side and
there you go.
in. Yep.
So it's just actually going to be a platform, an experimental platform for manure.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the other portion that's going to go with this is we're setting up a fairly high performance manure pump that chops well and generates a lot of flow. And we're looking at running that with the hydrostat off the front of this too.
Okay.
And that can go right down in the slurry and load trucks or feed a dragline system or any other thing you want to do with a heavy duty manure pump.
Yeah, I understand the manure business isn't exactly a turnkey system. It's just a...
No, if you were to go out all new and you wanted to set up your own dragline system from scratch, you could dump $1.5 million into it without trying.
Yeah. And then it's different. Here in Minnesota, I understand that it's mostly dragline. Wisconsin, it's...
Well, it depends a little bit on
Tank
what
trucks.
you do. Yeah, well, Wisconsin generally is a lot more hilly and irregular ground. Here in Minnesota, the MPCA, Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, takes a lot more active role in exactly what you can do on a field. Or can't. Yeah, or can't. Wisconsin, there's some more flexibility there. The big thing with draglining in Minnesota is you need to have enough gallons to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
If you can move 1 million gallons a day and it takes you a day to set up and a day to tear down, you've got 3 days in it. Well, how many gallons can you move with trucks in that time? If you can truck it in 2 days, well then you're going backwards.
Yeah.
It has to be a large barn or a large series of barns to be able to dragline and make it pay.
So what's the next thing you're going to do to this?
We're going to get the fuel tank back on this side.
Fuel tank on this side.
Yep. Going to get the air lines and valves and controls back mounted. And then we'll be able to at least move the thing around again.
When are you going to chop?
That's going to be one of the later things we do.
After you figure out when you put the motor in and everything
we
else.
Want to get our mounting bracket. And
so you're going to
set up in there.
So you're going to motor set up first, and then whatever's left over, you're going to chop.
Yep, I'm going to trim off accordingly.
Yeah.
So if it's 3 feet past grade, if it's 4 feet past, it's
Okay.
harder to stretch later than just leave it there because we got a lot of room to work with now.
How are you going to cut it?
Either plasma or gas axe. Okay, there will be different tires and wheels on it. We're probably going to end up putting floaters on.
Float tires?
Yep. Just because, if nothing else, they're cool, and there's always a practical aspect of if you're replacing a tractor, you don't want to take it out and immediately sink it in the mud.
Right.
I mean, you at least give it a day or two. But you take this and say, okay, it's rated for, it's a 26,000 pound axle, so you put 26,000 pound rated floaters on it. You got a tire that wide and that tall and rated for that kind of weight. You're spending a lot of money.
Yeah, you are.
Our goal is to build this overkill enough that it's not going to be broken or destroyed easily.
Yes.
And we'd rather have a little more than somebody needs and a little less because nobody's going to complain about 10 horsepower more than it takes to stove it out.